the failure of my life. She really gets her hands dirty at one. It's Saturday morning, and so the second week of Escape the Readathon is complete. Scientists are doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. The chat's been interesting to keep up with. I am reading Rites of a Starling. I got 66% of the way into this last night, which is about 300 pages. I'm on chapter 40. I'm liking this a lot. I think I'm even liking it better than the first one. The first bit really didn't grab me. I had to get to know the characters in the world first. I really like the world. I think it's interesting and different than some of the other things I've read. You know, there's still tropes in here and everything, but I really liked it. I really like the world, and I'm really intrigued by the monsters in here and what's going on in this one. I can't tell you too much about it because this is the second in the series, Shield of Sparrows being the first one. But in this series, we have a princess named Odessa. She is living in her palace, and she's sort of the spare daughter. This world, nobles marry off their daughters to other lands so that they have a treaty and that they are invested in each other, and just like strengthen bonds between countries and political stuff. So her sister has been trained to be the sparrow, but when the king or prince from the other country comes in, they decide they want Odessa instead, and she is wholly unprepared for this. She's been looked over her whole life. Odessa's mother died when she was young, and her stepmother she doesn't love that she looks like her mother and reminds the king of her mother, and so the stepmother tries to dampen her in any way that she can. So when the prince comes and tries to marry Odessa, she is surprised, but this gives her the opportunity to become her own person and escape the situation that she is in. Then, of course, this is romantasy, so there's a love story at the center of this. The prince has a bodyguard, and in this land there are lots of beasts, all different kinds. They're really interesting, but they're very dangerous, and they attack people more often than they should be. You know, usually it wasn't the case that they would attack people. It was just sort of if you were in their territory or if you were, stupid, they would attack you occasionally. Sort of like how wild animals are here, in the real world, where you don't mess with them, they won't mess with you unless they've got something else going on. But it seems they have something akin to rabies where they are attacking people just for no reason and acting out of the ordinary. So we are dealing with that in here. At the beginning of the first one, there's a lot of travel, which I didn't love, which is weird because there's a lot of travel in this one as well, and I really loved it in here. We're getting some new POVs in here, which I think are really interesting and deepen the understanding of the world. As in a lot of romantasy, the couple gets separated for a little while. In this one, sometimes that makes me like a book less because you are not dealing with the romance anymore for a little bit. But I do like the yearning, and what was happening in this while they were separated was interesting enough, and the world is rich enough that I really still enjoyed it while they were apart. I'm really liking this one. I think this will end up being at least a 4, so I'm having a good time. I also started Girl's Girl by Sonia Feldman for my Ready Set Net vlog. This is a sapphic coming of age story. It is now the third week of Escape the Readathon, and we've had a bit of a shakeup. So I'm going to pause my reading of Rites of a Starling, at least for right this minute, and I'm going to read another by Paul Tremblay. This one should be pretty quick. It is a middle grade novel, I believe. And oh, there's pictures in it. I didn't realize that. So that's cool. It's by Paul Tremblay, which is an author I love. And I heard about this book from I think it was Jan the first time I heard about it, but it could have been someone else too. And I love Paul Tremblay, and I'm interested to see what he does with the middle grade novel. I know he's also a teacher, which I just think is super cool. He's a dad, and I just feel like he seems like a cool guy on top of loving his books. And so I'm going to try to read this one. I'll let you know exactly what it's about when I get started, but I think it's about a kid who lives in a neighborhood, and some other kid knocks at his door and wants to come in, but the child, he seems like really off, not wholly real or something. And then, but the parents are like, yeah, come in, like, let's hang out with my kid. Sort of a forced play situation. So I'm interested to see how I feel about this. I think there's themes of neurodivergence in here, general neurodivergence in here, but I'm not really quite sure. I'll let you know how I feel about it. Also finished Girls Girl for Ready Set Net, so you'll be seeing that in a separate vlog, my review of that. But for the readathon, I haven't logged it for anything yet, since we had a bit of a toss-up, like I said, for our team. And so, yeah, I will have to log this for something eventually, hopefully. But right now, it's going to remain unlogged, as will Rights of a Starling, because I already submitted some of those pages, so I can't submit that for anything else at the moment. So that is the plan. Also today, I am planning on going on a hike with a friend, so maybe I'll include some of that footage here. The first little bit of Another by Paul Tremblay. The beginning. The beginning isn't always obvious or easy to pinpoint, because after, when we reach back into the past, we find things had happened before the beginning. Maybe every story should come with this warning about its beginning. But let's say this story began with an antique phone and an unexpected call. Dun dun dun. I always love Paul Tremblay. But I just read the first or second chapter, I guess, technically, in Another by Paul Tremblay. And yeah, they get this antique phone and they get a phone call and the parents answer, even though they had the ringer turned off because the phone is only supposed to be for emergencies. And it's a friend of their son, Casey, and the parents want to know if there's this friend could come over. And he's like, okay, who was it? And his mom's like, oh, I didn't get a name. Just seemed to be acting completely normal. But then a few days later, a man arrives with a burlap sack and a boy comes out of it. Parents are acting like this is totally normal and nothing weird is going on. And as the boy comes out of it, which the description is really interesting, as the boy kind of like slowly works his way out of it with his hands and pulls the sack down, Casey sees that this boy kind of looks like clay, like their skin is a clay color. The face is really a suggestion of a face. Yeah, he's just really odd looking. His name is Morel or Morel. Everyone just seems to think that this is normal. And the man that delivered the boy says, you know, the mom's like, oh, does he have any allergies? He's like, and he says, no food. So I guess the boy doesn't eat food. And then he says, oh, he can sleep in his sister's room. His sister isn't with us right now. She's, you know, getting ready or off at college. And he says, no bed. And the parents are just like, oh, okay. Just like, that's completely normal. So this is interesting and creepy so far. I knew that it was like some clay-like boy, but I didn't realize he didn't really have like a face. And, you know, he didn't eat food or anything like that. So this will be interesting. I am enjoying it so far. Really on page 22. But Casey, the main character, the son, is in 6th grade. They're amidst the pandemic, so they're doing hybrid school for part of the year at least. And he had an incident with the video classroom where his classmate videoed his reading of a poem and then put it back on the internet with some funny music in the background, basically bullying Casey. And that was an incident at the beginning of the year. And so Casey's kind of a highly anxious. He's got some facial tics that has an effect on his confidence and his self-esteem. Friends kind of have distanced himself from him after this incident because they don't want to be personally affected by being friends with someone who has had this happen to them. 6th grade, man. It's a tough year for everyone, especially, I think, sometimes the boys, because the girls seem to be like a head taller than all the boys, at least from what I can see in my daughter's classroom. And all the girls kind of, you know, they mature a lot faster and they're just kind of growing up, and these boys are just like annoying 6th grade. Anyways, I am going to continue reading this for just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to go on a hike with a friend, so I have to get ready. Got this little lady here. Oh, baby, with the snuggles. Oh, and my husband's dirty socks over there. That's lovely. Oh, the big stretchings. She's doing the big stretchings. Yes. Oh, the snorch. There he goes.
It's really not that bad. Look up.
Are you sitting on your sister? Is it comfortable? Is she comfy? Is it a cute little girl? Yes, you are. Oh, the cute little buggy beast. Yes, so cool. Is Briar okay? Is it okay that she's sitting on you, sweetie? Is that okay with you?
So a little update. I finished another by Paul Tremblay. I gave it 4 stars. I think this is a great middle grade horror novel. There are some really creepy parts in it that would have creeped me right the F out when I was a kid. And I think the kind of horror this is always kind of creeps me out. And you know, when you wake up from a dream, or when you have a nightmare as a kid where you wake up and like your parents are just like missing, like that's so terrifying. And this doesn't exactly do that in here, but there's like an aspect of that in here. It just brought me right back to that anxiety. So this deals a lot of anxiety and like loss of self, loss of identity, a little bit of depression. And Paul Tremblay said that he's a teacher, and he, you know, the hardest time he was ever a teacher was during the pandemic, and just dealing with the kids and how they were going through everything and how they're so resilient, but you could see like the anxiety and the changes in them. Yeah, he wrote that book. He was inspired to write this book because of that. And I think it's incredibly well done. And I gave it 4 stars. I think for anybody with a middle grade reader out there who likes horror, that this would work really well. My kids don't read without me forcing them to, because I read so much. And I guess they just don't want to be like me. But I'm hoping one day they'll be perhaps inspired to pick up a book voluntarily. The failure of my life. Anyways, so yeah, I finished that one because we were reading for prompts right now, and we're reading for the prompt of found on YouTube or discovered on YouTube, and this was one I read for that. I wanted to make sure I got at least one book in for that prompt because, yeah, I wanted to help my team out, and the other 2 books I was reading would just only be for pages. I did finish this morning on my run, Rights of a Starling, and I gave this 5 stars. I really, really liked this. I loved where it's going. The first one was just like, I don't know if I ended up giving it 4 stars or 5 stars, the first one, because by the end I felt like it grew on me, and I really, really loved it. This though, whew, I like this better than the first one. I don't know if that's going to be a popular opinion. I haven't really seen many people review this because I only read romantasy sometimes, so I don't always watch romantasy heavy channels as much as others might. But yeah, I really liked this. I loved the way we got some of the history, and I loved the way everything came together at the end. And there was one thing that I wasn't expecting that I liked that too. And there's like a scene in here that's just like so sad. Oh, it's really good. And I think Devaney Perry, I've never read any of her just contemporary romance, and I'm not like I do read some contemporary romance, but they're not, you know, my main genre. So I don't know if I would enjoy them, but really, really liked this. I loved it. And let's see. I also started reading last night, Gone to See the Riverman by Christopher Triana. And this has been on my TBR for a long time. I think Jordaline may have been the first person I heard about it from. Also could have been Jan. But this is, I think it's varying. I don't know if it really is extreme horror. I've heard it compared to extreme horror, but I'm not far enough into it to tell you one way or the other how I feel about it. So yes, Gone to See the Riverman is about a woman who's obsessed with a serial killer and is writing letters to a serial killer and is going to visit him. And he killed lots of ladies, and I think, I don't know, killed them, tore them apart. And he asked her to go to this cabin in the woods by a river and get an item and find the riverman and give it to him. And so she does, for what reason, I don't know. And she also decides to bring along her older sister, who has some sort of traumatic brain injury and is very childlike in her demeanor. It's like, okay, one, not making good choices. She's writing to a serial killer. strike number one. She is taking her sister. Why would you take your vulnerable sister to a place where a serial killer killed victims and wanted you to go? This just sounds like all over bad decision making. But I guess without the bad decisions, there wouldn't be a book. I know Peyton really likes this one too, from Book in Hand. And so I'm only 45 pages into this, and they're just making their way to the cabin, or they just got there, but nothing much has happened other than that so far. We are getting some of, I don't know if we're getting any more letters, but we've gotten a couple of the letters that she sent to him and he sent to her, so that's a little interesting. My plan for today is to hopefully finish this. I already finished Rights of a Starling today on my run. I need to edit my second week vlog, and yeah, so I'm gonna read that. That's my only reading plan for the day because I want to edit a lot. I also need to start reading another arc, another for a June release, but that won't be in this vlog other than me telling you that I did it. What do I need to read next? I think I'm gonna read, my choices are Hunger and Thirst, or The Last Time I Drowned, or We Drowned. Both of those are ones that I'm interested in. I'm thinking maybe The Last Time I Drowned, because I think that might be a little bit more thriller-y, and I know I like Saratoga's writing, so we'll see what I get up to after finish at least somewhat editing this. I'd like to get it up tomorrow. I got my new glasses, so now you can see my glare. I like them. They're fine. They're nothing too exciting, although it's hard to see on the camera, but I think they're fine. Yeah, so those are the glasses. I got them from Warby Parker. And I ordered another pair because they're just so much cheaper. I think I paid $150, and I had to do an upcharge for like the thinner lenses because I have really thick lenses in general, so I need to have a thinnest as possible lenses, because even then they're pretty thick and they make my eyes look tiny because of the magnification. But that's all right. So now I have 2 arms. I have now finished Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I did this on audio. This was on my physical TBR, so I figured to get it over with. I had the audio on Libby and it was going to expire, so I needed to get this done. I thought this was okay. I'm gonna give it a low 3, high 2. It was entertaining enough. These kind of mysteries, they're not really my thing, but I thought the humor in it was pretty good, and I thought it was well crafted, and the self-awareness of the genre was kind of fun. I just don't think mysteries are generally my thing unless they are really funny. Sometimes the cozy ones work for me if the characters are endearing enough, but in this, it wasn't like I liked anybody that much, and the family wasn't that exciting. It's set on a ski resort during a winter storm. There was a lot of like organized crime type stuff, a dirty policeman type stuff, and that's not always my favorite. So I just gave this a 2.5, I think. It's what I'm gonna go with officially, but I'll bump it up to 3 on Goodreads. So I am done with that one. And I am about halfway through, a little over halfway through Gone to See the Riverman. I mean, I haven't gotten that far into it yet, right? So there has been a few shocking moments in here, nothing crazy. She really gets her hands dirty at one point. She really delves into the grossness with her hands at one point. So that was pretty gross, but nothing scary or too crazy at this point. I'm enjoying my time with it. I'm curious to see how it ends. The setting is pretty isolated and creepy. I think they're in the South somewhere. She met somebody that's not the Riverman that's gonna float her down the river maybe. Okay, so it's set in Killen, Virginia. So yeah, South. So you can really feel the South in here. I just like feel the humidity coming off the pages. I don't know, I feel itchy, like I'm being bitten by mosquitoes for some reason while I'm reading this. I did go on one of those alligator boats when I was in New Orleans once, and it just reminds me of being on the rivers down there and like the shacks that people have on the side of the river, living on the river. Curious to see what happens. Laurie is pretty messed up individual. There's some incesty type stuff in here, which is real gross. She's just continuing to push on despite all the warnings, doing this thing that this serial killer asked her to do for some reason with her sister, who has a traumatic brain injury, I assume, and also walks with crutches. Ugh, why? Why does she do these things? But I'm interested to see what happens. I was able to finish Gone to See a Riverman just a day late. This is under 200 pages. Obviously, she continues to make poor choices, and in the end, the poor choices get her, you know, obviously. There's a lot of trigger warnings here. Grossness, murder, all the things, you know, that you would expect. I don't know if people call this extreme or splatterpunk or whatever. I'm still not certain on all of the terms. I like my horror to have a point, other than just gore and violence, or to just be purely entertained by it is okay, but it has to be like this novella kind of size. This kept my interest. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It was kind of fun to read in a gross, transgressive kind of way, which I enjoy sometimes. So I don't want to tell you too much about it because it is so short. Fucked up woman doing fucked up things. She has a really horrible past. She has, you know, done horrible things to her family, and this, you get, you know, the past timelines in here, so you know what happens and why maybe she is the way she is, but I mean, we really don't know why she is the way she is. But I did find the paranormal aspect of this to be pretty cool. I like the descriptions of the river and the river man. There's definitely some gruesome descriptions in here, which I appreciated. I thought they were good. Nothing grossed me out too much when it came to the violence and gore of it. There were some taboo things in here, like the incest, that bothered me. That was gross. I'd rather have not read about that. But anyway, I'm gonna give this a 3.5. Liked, didn't love. I pick up these kind of books because I just get curious and I can't help myself. I just want to know why people talk about it. So now I know. Team scientists have finished reading for pages that we were reading for, and now we're on another prompt. We had our poll. It was very, very close. We picked a new prompt, so for that prompt, I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone or give anything away. We picked something, and we're reading books for things. We're reading pages for stuff. And for that prompt, I am picking The Butcher of the Forest, mostly because it is short, and I just got this from the library, and I'm going to need to be bringing it back at some point. Read this. I've heard good things. I think it was Angel from Angel Can't Read and Miss Pizza Reads. I think those are the channels that I heard about this from. I think it's about a girl that went into a forest, but it's a deadly forest with magic, and it's forbidden, and if a child goes missing in there, then they usually never come out again or are never found alive. And so this girl went in and she was able to retrieve her brother. So I think the king, tyrant, so not a king, has his children have gone missing, so he forces her to go into this forest to go find his children. She's got one day to do so, otherwise they will be dead, or something along those lines. She didn't rescue anyone. She was one of the children that went in and actually got out. So the tyrant is making her go back in and try to save his children. But I've heard good things about this, so I thought I'd give it a try. And it's only 156 pages, so it's good for a prompt to have a shorter book. So we're gonna go with this and see what happens. And I didn't realize that she is 40 in this, and at the beginning she says, you know, what does the tyrant want me for? When they call her, they don't even let her get dressed. She's in her nightgown, and she says, what are they calling me for? You know, I'm too old to be a concubine, I'm not fertile, and I'm too old, you know, I wouldn't be any use as a housekeeper or anything like that. She's like, what are they calling me for? So she was woken up out of bed, she has her nightgown on, and brought to this tyrant's castle, and that's where we're at the moment. I'm a whole 12 pages. The tyrant means business. He tells Varys, if you do not recover my children, your village will be razed to the ground and burnt, and we will roast your people alive upon it and eat them. He means business. So I think I'm going to neglect my adult responsibilities today and go kayaking. It's like in the mid to it's high 80s today, and it'll be cooler out in the water. And I just haven't done it in so long, and there's only so many days where it's warm, but the kids are still in school. So I think I'm gonna go do that now. And while I do that, I'm going to be listening to the sequel of Long Live Evil, which is something chaos. All Hail Chaos. So yeah, the sequel to Long Live Evil is All Hail Chaos, and I have an arc of this on NetGalley, so this will be from my NetGalley in detail, but I will be reading that and including it in something for the readathon. Oh, I also the last time we drowned by Saratoga Schaefer. I really like Tradwife. I gave that 5 stars, and this I have on NetGalley, and this is coming out in June, so I'm going to be reading that. I'm about 20% of the way through so far. Mixed feelings so far. Definitely entertaining and definitely more of a thriller than a horror, which I knew going in, so I knew what to expect, but it feels like a fun popcorny time so far. But we'll see how that goes as I read it, and the details for that will be over on my Ready Set Net vlog, which will hopefully be going up the beginning of June. We'll see if I can get through all these before then. That might be a tall order or something of the sort. So I am gonna go kayaking, and I will be listening to All Hell Chaos, and I'll get you some footage from my kayaking trip. We'll see how it goes. I haven't kayaked in a really long time. It is hot out. I already sunscreened up and I got my water. So we'll see how that goes. And then I need to get back here because we have chorus concerts tonight and drum performances tonight at the same time. We're going to have to divide and conquer for this one. May is very busy for those of you who aren't parents. May, end of the school year stuff is very busy. We're in the Northeast, so my kids are in school till like June 18th or something. So it'll be a while, but it's just very busy. End of the year stuff, paperwork stuff, finals, picking classes for the next year, all the end of year parties and celebrations, and it's all fun stuff, but it is busy. So I'll probably regret going kayaking because the sun's probably going to make me exhausted, but I need to, I just feel like I need it for my soul. So I'm going to go do that. Also quickly, hopefully before my battery dies, I did finish The Butcher of the Forest last night. Glare is like awful. I did finish The Butcher of the Forest last night. This is a dark fairy tale. I liked it quite a bit. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. It might be more like a 3.5, but I'm thinking I'm going to go with a 4. It's very Jack and Jill / The Labyrinth Fae stuff in here. The woman goes in and the forest lures children in with treats or magic or vibes or whatnot. And our main character, Varys, has to get them out, and she goes through some trials and trickery and deals and things like that with these dark fae-like creatures to try to get them out. There was a scene with a unicorn that I really liked. The creatures are really cool in here. If anything, I'd say I'd wanted more. Like, what is happening to these children, and more details on the creatures, and what their motives are, etc. But that's not the point of this. They are supposed to be mysterious, and it is a little short novella. But I did quite like this, the vibes and the setting and the I was feeling even a little claustrophobic as they were trapped in this woods. I say it's kind of like The Labyrinth because it's a child who has been taken or lured away, and we have a character going in trying to find the way out of this labyrinthian forest, because once you're in, it's very, very difficult to leave, and she's the only one who has. And so that is why I said that it's kind of like The Labyrinth, kind of like Hansel and Gretel, because we have a nefarious being in a forest that is trying to take the children and lure the children away. And so I think if you like either one of those, it is a dark fairy tale, and I like the protagonist is a little older as well. I have finished All Hail Chaos and also The Last Time We Drowned by Saratoga Schaefer. That'll be in a Ready Set Net vlog for all the details on those. But as far as the readathon goes, I did finish those 2. Our team is once again on pages, which is excellent because I had all those NetGalleys that I needed to get to. So I got to 2. I'm working now on The Animal Room, and this one I am enjoying so far. And also for a book to talk about, I did start, oh, it's so bright, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This is the 3rd in the Poppy War trilogy, and I am ready to gasp and be devastated as this is making me like dark. I'm ready to gasp and be devastated as I was in the first 2. The ending of the second one was just as horrifying and devastating as the first one, so I'm expecting this will be more of the same, but I really enjoyed the first 2. I think I gave them high 4s or 5s. I know I gave one a 5. I can't remember if I gave both a 5. Probably the second one I did, because I just remember being so shocked and surprised by some of the events in that one. But yes, in this one we're, picking up with Rin, and after the events of the second book, she's trying to pick up the pieces once again. I can't tell you much else. But this is a war fantasy, but it is a fantasy series, so there is magic, and Rin has some magic that she discovers in the first book that she just continues to develop and journey with. She has some substance abuse issues that she deals with in the second book, and lots of PTSD in all the books. Yes, I really enjoy this series, so I'm only a little bit into this now. I just listened to it on my run this morning. And today we are going book shopping with my friend, so that will be fun. That's why I actually got dressed and did my makeup already this morning. You're on my knee, so the angle's weird, that's why. I got home from book shopping. We had a lot of fun. Went out to lunch, and I think I bought 12 books. I spent like $60, so that's more than I probably should have, but at the same time, 12 books for $60 is not bad. I got some really good stuff that I'll have to show you later. But now I'm outside reading a little bit of The Animal Room. Our team has moved on and is now reading for a prompt again. We're reading for the prompt of book that was blurbed by an author you love, and unfortunately R.F. Kuang's books are not really blurbed by many people on the back. If anyone, it's more like publications reviewing them, and so even when I looked up online I didn't see anybody, and so I am going to continue reading The Animal Room for this prompt because it is blurbed by Mona Awad, who I love. I loved Bunny and Rouge, so we're going to be continuing to read The Animal Room, which is a NetGalley arc that I have that I'm not going to talk too much about here. Then also, if I can, before we're done for prompts, I will be reading There Is No Anti-Memetics Division because it's for Allie's book club for her Patreon, and so I will be reading that. So those are the two that I'm thinking for now, and then I will continue to listen to The Burning God as my audiobook and just submit that for pages. if it comes down to that. Again, we only have about a week left in a little bit more, I guess, like 9 days left in the readathon, and so we are at the tail end of it now, so I don't know how much more we'll be submitting for. But anyways, that's the plan. I haven't been a very good vlogger the last few days, but I need to update you on some things. I finished The Animal Room. Our team is still on Read a Book Blurbed by an Author You Love, and that one was blurbed by Mona Awad, and I finished that one. That was an arc I had, and I'll put the cover here, but yeah, that'll be in my Ready Set Net vlog. I'll review it there, but I did finish that and I got to submit it. But we're still on that prompt, and so I started reading There Is No Anti-Memetics Division. It's hard to see. It was blurbed by several people I love: Stephen Graham Jones, Blake Crouch, and then also Scott Hawkins, who wrote The Library at Mount Char, which I liked and didn't love. But Stephen Graham Jones and Blake Crouch are definitely two authors that I have enjoyed in the past. It's also blurbed by M.R. Carey, who wrote The Girl with All the Gifts, which I have not read. But anyways, this is a weird mind-bendy, mind-fuckery sci-fi book, and it is about a government division that is researching and battling entities that normal people don't know about, can't see, or can see but then immediately forget. There's a lot of memory nonsense in here and mind effery, which I already said. It's hard to explain, but the idea that there are things, gigantic beings and entities, etc., that we don't know about but are here at all times is terrifying. So I am liking this. I'm liking that it's hurting my brain. It's scratching that itch in my brain that I like. It is confusing and a little hard to understand, but at the same time there's enough for me to latch onto that I am enjoying the experience overall with this one. So I'm hoping to finish this one today. I'm about halfway through. I'm having fun with it. I feel like I need some sort of a lighthearted, easy read at some point. I have not really been reading many of those lately, and especially this one I started on audio. I'm only like 7% of the way through. There is like no blurbs in here by actual authors, so this doesn't count for a prompt. I'm just going to count it for pages if we get, but I definitely feel like I'm going to need something a little lighter at some point soon. But I've just been reading my arcs, which are mostly horror and lit fic, nothing light really. I mean, I guess Girls was a little bit lighter, but just been reading lots of crazy, depressing, mind-bendy, worry, devastating fantasy, etc. So yeah, I'll tell you how the rest of this goes when I'm finished. And I'm going to be editing today. I think it is Memorial Day weekend and it's just been like raining, which is kind of sad, but also it's good reading weather. So hello, I'm in my bedroom and I'm here to update you on There's No Anti-Memetics Division. I ended up giving this 3 stars, which I think is an unpopular opinion. I really liked the first half to 3/4 of this. I was thinking it would be through at least a 4, but I got really fatigued towards the end, and I honestly trudged through the last 25% of this, and I wasn't having fun anymore. I got weirdness fatigue. It was not weird in a way that I liked towards the end. Like, I think this would have been better as a short story, which I think it originally was, and I liked the concepts in it. I thought there were some super duper creepy things to think about in here. It reminds me sort of that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's called something glass. The one where you put on the little glasses, the black and white hypnotizing glasses, and you could see people that aren't there when you take the glasses off, but then if they notice you, then there's a creepy, scary ending. And that one reminded me of this a bit, and it just plays a lot with memory and sci-fi, science-y type stuff, and I really liked it until I didn't, and that's why I'm going to give it 3 stars. But I think if I just read the first half and it sort of ended there, then I would have ended up giving it 4 stars. So take that for what it is. I think some people really are liking this one, so I would definitely give it a shot. If it's something you're interested in, just know going in that you're going to be confused. Sometimes I like being confused. Like, I've read How to Lose a Time War, and I wouldn't say this is exactly similar, but it kind of gave me some of the same feelings in the beginning of confusion and wonder and intrigue. But that one, the writing was so much more nicer and fluffier and pretty. This is very plot driven.
Anyway, that is going to be it for this week of Escape the Readathon. We're going to be moving into the third week now that it is Monday Memorial Day. So I will see you guys later. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and have a good day. Bye!